Well, it's still Valentine's Day, and we're on the theme about lovers in literature. And in 1784, there is another romance to look at. Jack's sister, Mary Jane, has a boyfriend, Daniel, and the family are kind of urging her to choose to marry him, and he is certainly urging her to marry him, but Mary Jane isn't sure that's the life she wants. So here are some passages before, during, and after Jack's wedding that help us understand what Mary Jane is going through. Mary Jane Cooper is unsure she wants to marry. During the Revolutionary War, she got a taste of healing as she worked with Dr. Dobson. Now the war is over, but Mary Jane wants to keep on healing. Both her family and her fiancé Daniel are urging her toward the altar. Here's part of the conversation the family had on the way to the wedding of her older brother Jack. And this is in the words of Mary Jane's younger sister Jenny. "If Mary Jane marries Daniel, will we have a new brother then?" Joe asked. "I'm not ready to marry anyone, Joseph," Mary Jane sniffed. "Well, you better get yourself ready," Joe said. "I've seen other girls looking Daniel's way. If you don't give him your word, one of them other girls might beat you to it." "What other girls?" I asked. "Thalia Jonesworth, for one," Joe replied. "She was mighty friendly to Daniel on court day. She was making eyes at him." Mary Jane's neck straightened up and she turned toward Joe. "Daniel knows his own mind. If he wants somebody other than me, he's welcome to go find her." Mama spoke up in Daniel's defense. "Mary Jane, you might speak more sweetly of a man who has shown you nothing but courtesy. Many a girl around here would be proud to earn his attention." "I know that, Mama." "Is there someone else you prefer?" Mama asked. "Do you have a better husband in mind?" "No, ma'am," Mary whispered. "Daniel is as good as they come." She looked up into Mama's face and said, "But don't you and Papa need me to help with the tavern?" "Papa will be busy building the new one on our town lot. Won't he need more help than ever keeping up two places?" "'Tis not your worry, Mary Jane," Mama replied. "You do what's best for you. Papa and I can take care of our own business." Then after the wedding, Mary Jane was taken home in the wagon of her boyfriend Daniel. And here's what happened between them. These are in the words of Mary Jane herself. "Sit closer, Mary Jane," Daniel suggested. "'Tis a cold ride." He smiled at me and clicked the reins as I scooted toward his side. Mama, or one of the children, watched from Papa's wagon bouncing along in front of us, but the January air made a good enough excuse. I have to admit, after the excitement of a wedding and seeing the happiness Jack and Francie shared, I wanted to be nearer to Daniel. "Does their cabin suit you?" Daniel asked. "'Twas very nice, well built and warm." "Mary, you know I own land now," he said. "My cabin is nearly finished and fitted. 'Tis twice as big as Jack's, room for a family." "You've said so, Daniel," I replied. "Will you come with me to see it?" "If you wish it, and if Mama and Papa can spare me from work." "I can make you happy there, Mary Jane," he said. "There's land for planting, and I'm working toward a good paying job with the law. You'll make a clever wife. We can build a good life for ourselves." I nodded silently. "Mary Jane, your Papa will give his permission. He can work out what to do with the tavern, and if he needs you that badly, you can come to help during the days, at least until we have children." "Daniel, please don't rush me," I begged. "Let my family adjust to Jack being out of the house." He sat straighter and snapped the reins, and after a while he said, "Mary Jane, if you're just putting me off, if I don't please you, you need to tell me straight out." "There's no one better than you, Daniel. You'll make the best husband there ever could be." "Are you worried I won't be true to you? Is that it?" "I'll never disappoint you, girl, not ever." "Well, what if a pretty woman, maybe Thalia Jonesworth, comes after you?" "Are you jealous of Tally Jonesworth? You let a silly girl worry you?" "You call her Tally? When did you get close enough to her to call her by a short name?" "I wasn't close to her. Her brother was in jail and he called her Tally, and she told me I could call her that too. Don't you trust me?" Dan was working toward anger, and as ashamed as it made me, I was pleased to see it. A girl gives up her life when she marries. She needs to be careful of a step she can't undo. Oh, what's the sacrifice you fear? You don't have to give up your family for me, only living with them. I've no family left, and being part of yours will be a blessing to me. Are you worried that being a wife and mother will keep you from waiting tables and keeping books? Is that it? Do you prefer running a tavern to being a wife? No, I whispered, 'tis not that. Working in the tavern is no pleasure for me. He drove on another mile in silence, and there was a tick of anger in the way he snapped the reins. I just don't understand you, girl. And then his eyes widened as he drew a sharp breath. Mary Jane, he said, look up here at me. The blue of his eyes turned deeper when he was serious, and he whispered, are you worried? About me? Are you worried I might hurt you? I know you'd never hurt me, Daniel, I replied. Well, 'tis good to hear that, he said. And then he continued, is it having a baby then? You've brought dozens of babies into the world as a midwife. You know what to expect more than most women do. I guess I do, I said, but here was an opportunity. Seeing that for myself, a woman giving birth, I know how frightening it can be. It wasn't a lie. I didn't look forward to childbirth, but women mostly survived and forgot the pain and the joy of motherhood. If every day 1,000 women bore children, I could bear it too. I just wasn't ready. Well, I don't want you to be afraid. I'll be patient with you, Mary Jane, but promise me that this very week you'll come to see my new house. Maybe that will change your mind. It must be when Joe or Jenny can come with me. Papa won't allow it otherwise. Then that's how it'll be, he said. Bring your whole family. Daniel didn't tarry that night. He escorted me to the door and said his farewells to the rest of the family. We were alone on the porch just before he left. He bent toward me and whispered, you're the only woman I want, Mary Jane. You know that. I smiled at him, and he gave me that boyish grin of his as he donned his hat for the ride home. What a grin that was. 'Tis no wonder any girl in Burke County would give up her entire world to stay in the sunshine of that smile. Almost any girl. And you can read a lot more about their romance in 1784, The Birth of Morgan Towne, available at cooperspeak.com. Good night, lovers. Happy Valentine's Day.